Assalamu alaikum everybody and welcome back. In the previous video we've talked about this pointer and how do we use it and what does it mean, and by now we should understand what it is about. One note here before we proceed, we're going to solve the question from the assignment that we had about this pointer. One thing you should keep in mind, you need to practice by yourself. Watching me solving these questions wouldn't improve your coding skills. You can watch if there is a part that you don't understand, if there is a concept that you don't understand, but you need to practice by yourself. For example, if you watch the video, you need to do it by yourself again later. Okay, or maybe if you are comfortable enough, only see the question, try to solve it by yourself, but then after that, if you couldn't, then watch the video. Yeah, so starting with this question from the assignment, it says design a class. As always, we need to read the question fully. We don't think of the code, we need to understand the problem and how do we solve it. Then the last part is going to the code. It says design a class called student. Okay, so we have a class called student. Then that stores student's name and score. Implement a member function. So we have two data members, name and score, and then we have implement a member function called set details. So this is the first function that we have that uses this pointer. Okay, so this pointer within the set details to assign a values to the class members. Additionally, implement a member function display to print students details. Okay, requirements, it says ensure that set details return a reference to the object this so that multiple calls can be chained. Okay, first of all, this is something new I didn't explain in the previous video. This is one of the features that we can make use of this by chaining methods to each other's. But for now, this is what I like to do personally. This is how I solve things. First of all, I do or deal with the parts that I know and understand. I need to understand them fully. Then I add the extra details. So for example, this is an extra detail or extra requirement that we need to do. But can we do it without this? Yes, we can. We can design it without the need for the chaining, but then after that we improve it. Okay, so chain basically when you call the class and then you call a function, then after that you use the dot operator again to call another function. So this is what the chaining about. So let's start with making a class called student. Okay, so here we have a class called student, and then inside this class we have, I think was name and score. Yeah, name and score. Name, let's make a string, and then we have score and make it integer score. Okay, so these two, and then public. What do we have? We have set details and additionally display. So we have set details and display. Let me copy paste it to make it fast. So void, I know the requirement says that we need to make this function as returns this pointer, but for now let's set details the normal way we know. So set details, and then it receives string name and then integer score. Okay, then here inside what we do, usually we used to do name then equal n. For example, if we made this an n, but at this point we can do this pointer, right? So we can do this. So this arrow and then name will equal name. This means that I am accessing the name data member of the class using this. Okay, then I can do this will equal to score, and then equal score that I am receiving within the function. Okay, so this is this, and then let me do the display function. Void, there's an error here because I missed the semicolon. I do this a lot. So display, now I have display. It shouldn't take anything, it only going to show the name and score. Then cout, let's say name, then name, then inline, then cout score, and line. Okay, so basically display is going to show these two. Let me initialize student, and then s1 for student 1. Then I am going to initialize it with set details. So I'm going to give it name Mu'taz, and then score I'll give it 99. Okay, now if I am going to show these data, I need to do s1.display. This is a usual way of doing it that we usually do. And then let me save and compile. And then at this point, name Mu'taz score is 99. This is the usual way of doing. This is not actually the usual way of doing it. We're adding this pointer here. So now, the chaining way of doing it, instead of do this s1.display, we directly do display here, okay, without the need for this one. But what it says, expression must have class type, but it has type void. Okay, what does that mean? Just focus on this. Expression must have a class type, but it has type void, which means void is wrong. We need to return a class type, and as it mentioned here, ensure that set details return a reference to the object, okay, so that multiple calls can be chained. Okay, what does this words mean? Okay, so basically we need to return this. Okay, so after we do the update, we're updating the data. Now we need to return this, okay, with the asterisk. Why with the asterisk? Because we are returning the object, the updated one, because here, as you can see, this with the name and this with the score, we're updating name and score, and then we need to we need to return the updated version of this object. This is what we do. But here we're getting an error because this is a void function, so we need to return something. So okay, what do we return? Student. We need to return the class type, because what is this? When we use the asterisk with this, it means that we are returning the same object. If you remember in the first video of this pointer, when you use the asterisk, it means that you are targeting the content of the pointer. So this is a pointer of the same object, and here we're using asterisk, means that we are returning the updated object itself. Okay, so this is what we do. Now it will work, but we are missing only one thing, which is the AND operator here. Okay, why we're adding AND operator here? We're adding it because we're returning the reference of the object, so it can update it automatically. Okay, now I think this is the way it should work. Yep, let me, expression must have type. Okay, yeah, it glitches. because here is the type is student, it's not void anymore. Okay, anyway, let me see. Yeah, so now if I go and compile and then run it, as you can see, we did it in one line. We set details and then we gave it Mu'taz and Tisawt, and then we display it right away. How does that work? So first of all, we need to return the object. So here, after, think of it this way. I know it's a bit tricky and might seems complicated, but believe me, it's not. Here, when we do S1, S1 what? S1 is the object. Okay, now dot set details. So we're targeting the function set details. So set details, until this point, it's going to set the new data that we're setting, name and score. Then if I want to do dot display, I want out of this, just imagine, out of this we'll have an object, okay? So think of it as an object, another object, as we do, look, from the start. I know it seems complicated, but it's not. Now, until this point, what is S1? As you can see, S1 is an object. Dot, we can access any details, okay? Any data members. At this point, before we do the display, set details will set the details, but then this will return an object. How it returns an object? Because we told it to. So here it returns a student type and it returns a reference. We want a reference because we don't want to make a new copy. And then we are returning this with the asterisk, means that we are returning the updated version of the object, okay? So if we don't do this, it will return a copy. Anyway, now after this point, imagine that you're getting an object, so we are doing dot display for this object, okay? So this is how it works. Now I think we have tested already. Clear, compile. Okay. Oh, yep. Now I'll ask you a question. What if after I display this data, I want to set details again, and then now I want to give it Ali, and then I want to give it 100 score, and then I want to display it will not work. By the way, until here we have done with the assignment, but I'm adding this as an extra for fun. Now it gives an error. Expression must have a class type, but it has a void type. Now after the display, I cannot chain methods to the display. Why? Because it's a void. If I want display to have the ability to chain, I need to do this, make it return a type of the class or student, and then here I return asterisk and then this, okay? Now if I want to compile, okay, as you can see now, Mu'taz and then score, then Adi and score. This is fun. I mean, we can control everything we want, as you can see, and think of the possibilities that we can do. This is an interesting thing about coding. You cannot memorize patterns, but what you can do is understanding the concept and how it does work, and then you can alter it depending on the requirements. Yeah, I think this is it for now. See you in the next video.